All right, raindrops and the Huntsville Hotties. Wait, is that the new name for the Huntsville fans? The Huntsville Hotties. So
I
look,
love it.
don't you? Well, I love you. The raindrops love you. The Huntsville Hotties love you. You are the main one they've been asking for as I'm doing my weekly Love and Marriage Huntsville recap. Child, I'll talk to the cast and they be like, that's cute. When is Dustin coming back though, child? So I
My people,
decided
my tribe.
it's
Yes.
definitely your tribe. So we
Yes.
have after tonight's episode, we have 6 more to go before the mid-season finale.
hmm
So I wanted to surprise the raindrops and the Huntsville Hotties with the most requested guest to talk about Huntsville. I am talking about the lovely, the candid, the always shady and honest, Dustin Ross.
Thank you so much, Carlos. I'm so damn happy to be here. I don't know what to do. I have missed my Huntsville Hotties. I missed the raindrops, even though I'm one of them. I miss my brethren, okay, and my sistren and my theythrin of the raindrops, okay, everybody. I have missed y'all, so I'm happy to be back. What's happening, Carlos?
Dustin, you're from
Yes,
Flint, Michigan. I'm from Detroit, which at the end of the day, we're all from the D.
same thing. That's right.
The girls are reading me because I like to pronounce notification as notification.
hmm
Tell people how in Detroit we have our own slang.
We definitely have our own slang, and sometimes a O sounds like a AU, AUGH. Sometimes, okay. Sometimes NO sounds like NAUGH, and that's just the way it comes out. So if my brother says notification, okay, you just consider it that. Consider it a naughty notification. That's what it is. That's why it's so fun over here. That's why everybody loves being over here, Carlos. This is the real hot seat, man. Yes. So
Well,
hit
I
them
appreciate that.
notifications. That's right.
Listen, it is a hot seat, and you're in the hot seat. And listen, one thing about Dustin and I, we kind of just flow on some things. So
Yeah.
let's talk about tonight's episode in regards to what's been going on with Tiffany, Martell, and Marsau. So in last week's episode, we saw that Martell and Marsau spoke to Tiffany about her conversation with Sheree in regards to her wanting to know how Sheree felt about Melody, whether or not, she's met her. Also asked Sheree, well, you must put the P word down so you're not bothered. And Sheree surprisingly, didn't pull a wig.
Mm-hmm.
So when you saw all that unfold, was Tiffany being messy?
Absolutely. But yes, she was being messy. And by messy, what I mean is that Tiffany was asking Sheree questions that typically, in the lives that most of the viewers lead, the life that I live, we wouldn't ask such direct questions to someone that we're not that familiar with, right? So that I think kind of is what registered as messy in the conversation. Now, when we look at this from a reasonable and logistic, perspective, a logical perspective, she was moving the story of the show forward. What Tiffany was doing was asking the questions that were in the minds of everyone who watched that scene on the episode. These are the questions that we all had for Sheree. Another thing that I think people are missing here is that she wasn't asking a normal, person who is not accustomed to that sort of line of questioning the questions that she asked. She was asking Sheree Whitfield, who is a, 10 plus year deep veteran in the reality television game, who is accustomed to being in tense, high energy situations like that, where you're under a different grilling, you're subjected to a different type of grilling and questioning. So it wasn't as offensive to her as I think some of the viewers naturally would assume that it would be, So I do understand why people are saying it was messy, but listen, that's what we want Tiffany to do. Tiffany is taking up the space of the show that she quite naturally deserves to. She is a second year. Is this Tiffany's second or third year?
Third
Third
year.
year.
Third year.
I had to check myself. This is Tiffany's third year on this show. So her comfort level, I think, is surprising a lot of the viewers because she's kind of busting out of her shell. She's comfortable in her shoes as a cast member, and she is, performing as such. And I welcome it. This is exactly what we had kind of suggested that she do the last time we talked about Tiffany and her relevance to the cast and what kind of moves things along. So I was happy with it. Be messy, Tiffany.
Be messy, Tiffany. And listen, every reality show has a person, like you said, who moves story forward. Whether or not they do in the way you would do in your real life, that's who Tiffany is. Tiffany isn't acting. I said this publicly. I said it to her in my interview with her. There were tons of people who wanted to be on Huntsville. I chose Tiffany because in her casting tape, if y'all thought Tiffany's messy now, her casting tape, she was saying things that Lewis was blushing. Lewis was like, you gonna tell Carlos at the team all of this? Damn. So I knew that, listen, this cast needed somebody to shake things up because they have a long history of being friends, and you needed somebody to step in and say the things or ask the questions that the audience wants. Listen, y'all can love Tiffany or hate her. I love her. Dustin loves her. Now look, Martell and Marsau may not love her. So what we saw tonight is this. Marsau goes home and tells Tisha about what was happening. And then we saw Tiffany tell Lewis. When you saw this happen tonight, was Marsau in the right for the way he approached Tiffany in general?
No. And the reason that he was not in the right was because he wasn't involved. Tiffany's conversation with Sheree had literally nothing to do with Marsau. And once again, Marsau's kind of taking on the role of being overbearing that I think people have identified and attached to him since we were introduced to him in season 1. And he had been doing good for a while and kind of dispelling that, you know what I mean? And not necessarily being being outspoken and having the great personality that we love him for, because we do love Marsau in this cast, and he is absolutely a very necessary part of this cast. But he didn't have nothing to do with it. Okay, to put it simply, this had nothing to do with him. So I did think that he was a little bit out of bounds, kind of opining on it in general.
And what about Lewis? So Tiffany, let me tell you something. When they called Tiffany possibly being a Karen, and Tiffany clocked that T saying, it's because I'm half white, you're calling me a Karen, which I thought, say which one about Tiffany, barefoot and pregnant, she catches the shade when it's thrown at her. And
I mean,
go ahead.
We know what a Karen is, you know what I mean? And I think that I will give Marsau this credit. He absolutely identified and defined a Karen, I mean, perfectly. A Karen is someone who did kind of what he did in the first damn place. Offers your opinion unsolicited on something that has nothing to do with you, the thoughts and feelings and experiences of other people. So Marsau, you know, was kind of in a takes one to know one kind of position. I thought no one better in that scene to call her Karen than Marsau, who is exhibiting the exact behavior that he was vilifying her for. Even having a commentary, you know, on the situation anyway. So I get it. And shout out to Tiffany for being shrewd and keen enough to kind of be able to specifically identify what he really meant by calling her a Karen. Yeah.
Is Marsau a Karen?
Absolutely. 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 He's a Karen. That's what he did. You know, he just didn't like that Tiffany said the things that she said to Sheree, so he had an opinion about it. It had nothing to do with him. He's not in a relationship with Sheree or Martell, and so it had nothing to do with him. It was Tiffany's dialogue and discourse with Sheree. It really didn't have anything to do with Martell other than that it was about him, but it was a conversation between Sheree and Tiffany. So if anyone bore the responsibility to react or be affected by the dialogue in any way, it was actually Sheree, not Marsau, not Martell, damn sure not Maurice. So I just don't, you know, I was a little lost in the way that they were connecting that, but people have opinions and feelings about things. And again, as you mentioned, this is a cast that has long-standing history. And, you know, if something happened to you and you were pissed off, Carlos, I would have an opinion about it. So I get where Marsau was coming from with that, but sometimes you have to kind of step in front of your own, you know, feelings and concerns and kind of pull back, kind of zoom out sometimes and realize this ain't got shit to do with me. I'm gonna shut up. Okay. Sometimes you have to do that. So
no, that makes a lot of sense. Now, look, when it comes to Martell, I feel like it has something to do with Martell because she did tell Sheree, you're dating a cheater.
Yeah.
Now, Martell did say, well, are you a cheater? And she said, I cheated.
Yeah.
And Martell said, well, I cheated too. They were playing a game of the grammar, right? It was awesome.
Semantics.
It was all semantics, right? So, Dustin, have you ever cheated? And if so, does that make you a cheater?
You know, I think the great thing is that we find so many references in movies and television that we can apply to our own life, right? I remember at the end of Dreamgirls, which is a film that we all know and love, Curtis was on the red carpet for the Dreams reunion performance, and he had his new talent with him. And they were asking him about his previous work with Effie and the Dreams, and he said, you know, I don't believe in goodbyes, only hellos. And I like to govern myself along the same philosophy. So I really don't believe in goodbyes, only hellos, Carlos. I look forward to a future of wonderful connections and substantive, you know, relationships that really nurture and fulfill myself and others that are involved. So
are you gaslighting me?
Focus on. No, if I was gaslighting you, I would have just said no. You know, shit happens, you know, but I think that Martell Holt, I think, has a problem kind of owning the beginning of all of this story that is connected to him, right? And Tiffany never would have had that conversation with Sheree if Martell wasn't dating Sheree. He wouldn't have been dating Sheree. Well, we would hope he wouldn't be dating Sheree if he was still married to Melody. He would still be married to Melody if he had not stepped outside of the marriage and produced a child. And sometimes I think he kind of loses that and gets caught in a really just there's really no point to him kind of, I don't know what he's chasing, right? I don't know what it is, because Martell is very aggressively pursuing some sort of shift in the public perception of him, right? And then what people think about him. And I just think he's kind of chasing his own tail and going about it the wrong way, right? Fighting back against these things, fighting back against these very truth-oriented perspectives that people have of him, I think is the wrong thing. Again, we don't believe in goodbyes, only hellos. Martell has opportunity every single day to show up differently in relationships with people in his life and kind of create what his new story is, create what the impression that he leaves with people. He can kind of redefine that. And I think he should take advantage of that opportunity as opposed to kind of trying to dig up things and just shift people's focus and shift people's perspective of him. Just start living well. You know what I mean? As we move forward. And I think everybody, even Melody, I think would have a different perspective of him if he would do that instead of just spiraling back in the depths of all of his mistakes. I think that would be the best thing for him. So he is a cheater. He cheated on Melody multiple times. You know, I love Martell's personality. I love his willingness to participate in the minutia of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I think he's a very fit and formidable cast member on an ensemble reality show. And I think he should focus on his strengths as opposed to trying to defend his weaknesses, because there's an undeniable likability factor there. We all like Martell. That's why we're so disappointed in his choices, right? And I think he should just focus on new opportunities to kind of just fall back into the good graces of the viewers of this show. Because again, spiraling and trying to change people's perspective or rewrite history, you know, this revisionist historian title that he's self-assumed. I think he just needs to stop, full stop, and just start doing better every day.
Oh, that's very interesting you said that, because that's a conversation I had with him when he was on this podcast, in terms of you're not your past. And I think as long as you say, look, I did this, it was bad, I own up to it, I'm hoping to change and become a better person. But I do agree with you that it's up to him to showcase that. And when it comes to him dating Sheree, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you believe him and Sheree are in a relationship or into each other?
I do believe that they're attracted to each other. I do believe that they have an interest in each other. I just think that whatever that interest is kind of up to interpretation per who you ask. I think that everybody has very relevant concerns as far as the authenticity of their connection and whether or not, listen, the reason that the viewers and the audience even is concerned is because we want to know that, like, should we invest in this? Should we pay attention to this? Should we invest our time in getting to know them as a couple and invest in the interests of them, you know? And if it's not real, I don't think that people want to be played with in that way. And I just don't know. I have questions because we've been watching Sheree on television for many, many years, and she hasn't always presented herself as a person who leads with their actual feelings, you know, connected to a subject. You can kind of garner or mine some sincerity or authenticity from Sheree. The more you spend time around her, the closer you get to her. But they just met. This is a new relationship, you know, whether it was 2 years ago or whatever, this is fairly new. And we haven't seen enough to trust it. We haven't. The fact that she was unbothered by Tiffany's line of questioning, to me, was a red flag. I felt like if she was really passionately involved and really experiencing feelings of love, she would have been more offended by Tiffany's questioning. The fact that it was almost a joke to her and she had a reply ready immediately, which was a good one. We're talking about Sheree again. This is an OG, a reality TV vet. So she's prepared when she steps into the ring, so to speak, for these types of conversations. But her response, for me, Carlos, I just felt like, wow, so you really don't give a damn. You just want to get her back. You know, you just want to have something to say back. You're really not asking her, telling her like, bitch, I'm in love with him. And I can't believe you would ask me something about that. How dare you? You know, there was none of that passion and intense connection that we normally see with people who are really in the honeymoon stage of being in love with each other. And at Sheree's age and Martell's age and station in life, more so than a number, right? At their station in life, you know, children, ex partners, ex marriage mates, people move quicker when they find a real connection with someone. So the way they're casually kind of, you know, this it just appears to be a fleeting romance to me. You know, if they found love, I wish them the best because I want nothing more than more positive images of Black love on television. So I hope it's real and I would love to see it work out. I think that they're both in dynamic television personalities. So there's opportunity there for people like you and the wonderful folks over at Kingdom Reign Entertainment to kind of tell this story in its totality and its entirety. So I hope it's real. But I just don't know based on the players of the game, particularly.
Yeah, and I'll say this: they're not in love with each other.
Yeah,
they're so my what I'm seeing is this: I'm seeing two people who are both over the age of 40, right?
Okay.
Who are having fun. I think they're having great intimacy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff goes on in the boudoir.
Okay.
Let's call it what it is. I think there's something exciting about being in this reality zeitgeist, right? This reality bubble and dating each other and what it causes in terms of fandom. You know, I definitely think there's some excitement there, but no, I don't think they're in love. Listen, and I said this before, Dustin, on this podcast. I've seen them together. And they look like they're having fun. And I don't see it being serious. Listen, I don't think marriage is on the table. I don't think children's on the table. I think it's a bunch of Trojans on the table, in addition to a wet towel. And
well, listen, here's the thing that's funny about that. And this is where I want Martell to work a little harder, right? Because you're fiercely defending this relationship so much to the point that you are engaging in verbal combat, because it was a combative conversation that he and Marsau had with Tiffany. You're engaging in verbal combat with a woman in her third trimester. That's how intensely and fiercely you're defending this relationship that we've just clearly identified as not being a relationship with promise to like a happy ending. But then in other scenes on this season of Love and Marriage Huntsville, this is 6A, right?
Yes.
So in other scenes from season 6A, we see him talk about him wanting to propose to someone within the next year, him being willing to have another child, you know, all these things that he says he wants, big picture out of life. So is it Uchiwali or is it one Mike? Like, what are we doing here? Are you defending this relationship that's real? Are you going to be with this woman, or do you want the things out of life that we've just clearly identified you ain't getting with Sheree? Like, what is it? And that's where I want Martell to work a little bit harder in consistency, okay, and in telling the truth here. Because if you tell the truth, you don't have to think about it twice. You just say how you feel. And so I wish he would do that instead of his story changing, which causes the doubt that is causing this bigger conversation as it relates to the authenticity of their connection anyway. So if he would just stay on message, at least, you know what I mean? Pick a message and stay on it, Martell. I want to shake his arms because it's been so many years and he should get it by now. Pick a message and stay on it so that we can believe in you again. That's what we need Martell Holt to do.
I'm still stuck on you bringing back Uchi Wally Wally Uchi Bang Bang.
Okay.
I haven't heard that since our club days at Greenhouse in New York City on a Sunday night in the early 2000s, back in my ratchet era, honey.
Oh, yes, which is it's just right there in your back pocket. You just got to pull it right out, Carlos. You can have it again. Yes. But that's what I want from him. I want him to just do better in general so that he doesn't end up in situations like this. Because now we basically caught him in a lie. Like, do you want to propose to someone within the next year? And if not, are you does that mean that you're not wasting Sheree's time because you're aware that you don't see the promise in this relationship? Does she know y'all are just having fun? Because I watch both shows and I saw the difference in the way that he described their connection and the way that she described their relationship, according to her. And I watched his comfort level on the scenes that they showed of him in Chateau Sheree versus his comfort level when he was being questioned by Chris and Nell Fletcher at that dinner table over on Love and Marriage Huntsville. So I see the differences, and I really just, again, the question of the day, Carlos, is it Uchiwali or is it one Mike? Which is it, Martell? And he has no one to blame but himself, you know, because for what it's worth, Sheree has pretty much stayed on message with her description of this relationship. Her words, it's a relationship. When we ask him, we don't know what we're going to get. So I just would like to see a little bit more consistency from him.
Question for you, and we'll move on from this, but I wanna stay on this subject for one more question.
Okay.
If we're basing this off of your theory, right? So you're saying, Martell, your message on Love and Marriage Huntsville is vastly different than the messaging we're seeing on the Real Housewives of Atlanta when you're at the Chateau Sheree, pulling up your Levi jeans up against your Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah.
And you are being very sexual
absolutely
at the chateau. Now, when Sheree's on Huntsville, you're saying the energy feels different. So I want to ask you this. Do you think that energy is different because in Huntsville on this show, his ex-wife is still on the show? And do you think there could be some feelings still there?
I think two things can be true at the same time, right? Because I definitely think that there are feelings still there. If nothing else, the feelings that we still see Martell have for Melody could be rooted in ego, because her determination, when God told her to go and she went, okay, that was a death blow to the ego of a man who has presented himself to be what Martell has presented himself to be to us as viewers, right? So we know that if nothing else, his ego wants to win Melody back, or at least her good graces. I think that's why we see him force things on her, like walking her to the car, walking her to the door, asking her to pray, and then having the audacity to get upset when it's not a priority for her in conversation with him. You know, she doesn't owe him anything. She doesn't have to pray to get along with you. And so I think there's his ego just presents itself more than anything. And I definitely think that that's one reason he wants her back. And I don't doubt for one second that he doesn't still love Melody. He absolutely loves Melody and he wants her back. He would love to be in a relationship with her. He didn't want her to leave him in the first place for his mistake. That's the source of his anger and vitriol toward her, is the fact that she left anyway. So I definitely think he still wants to be there with her, but I don't think that the difference in his temperature and his mood and his actions in relationship with Sheree on Love and Marriage Huntsville is rooted in that. because Melody doesn't give a damn what he's doing or who he's dating. So she's not even presenting, and she's not giving him a reason to be evasive or a little bit more subdued in his engagement with Sheree in Huntsville. In fact, people are more eager to understand it and embrace the relationship and bring him back into the fold and into the rhythm as a unit with his new partner. No one's stopping him from being fully out with his relationship with Sheree in Huntsville. So I'm not quite sure why he's doing that, other than the fact that he's just not that into it. So again, it just begs the question, is it real in the first damn place? I guess that's where we continue to find ourselves as we orbit this relationship. We just wonder, is it real? Yeah.
What do you think is real or fake when it comes to this suggestion that Kimmy and Maurice are having problems in the bedroom, right? So what we saw in tonight's episode was Kimmy saying she hasn't been sexual to Maurice because obviously she's going through radiation due to having breast cancer, right? Maurice was saying, well, I felt like sometime when you scoot next to me, that means you want to do something. She said, actually, I don't. She has no desire to want to have sex. She spoke to her friend Andrea about the lack of drive she's having with Maurice. When you see that, do you feel that there's some concern here? Because what we do know about Maurice is he's very sexual. We saw last season when they went on a couples trip with Dr. Francis that he wants sex not just every day. Maurice wants sex multiple times every day. Now, I don't know whose hole is wide enough to receive that on a multiple basis, especially when you are a full-grown adult. You have children, you have bills, and you have a life outside of being in your Porsche bedroom sheets, child. So
pampered by Porsche.
Hey, pampered by Porsche. Hey, shameless plug, Portia. I will take the 10%, and the code can be reality with the king, honey. Anyway,
that's right.
Do you think Kimmy's afraid that if she doesn't give Maurice the cookies, he may be wanting to dip his milk in something else?
Here's how I feel about that. First of all, I think that we should all be bowing at her feet for even being willing to look at anyone else's experience that is attached to her experience as a cancer patient in treatment. Okay, she's finished chemo. She's going through radiation as she's having these conversations. We should bow at her feet for even considering how anyone else feels. Now, I'm not a married man, so I know that the concern level is different, but I just think that for her to be in the throes and in the thick of treatment as a cancer patient and be filming, be fully present in these conversations, be concerned about Maurice, be honest enough to tell him sometimes I am faking it just to make sure that you are satisfied and having a good experience. I think that all of those things are testaments to her character, and it's a full stop when it comes to Kimmy for me. Carlos, I know you and I, that's a personal thing for us. We have family members who have had experiences with cancer, breast cancer specifically. I just seeing her and hearing her talk about not feeling sexy because she did not have her hair, but wasn't, it was such a big part of how her self-image, and her not having that and still being concerned about his sexual satisfaction when he can go beat his meat. Okay. I think that is really just a testament to her character. I have so much respect for Kimmy, and not just as a cast member, now as a wife. I have respect for her as a wife. Maurice has been immature with his perspectives previously on the realities of a sexual relationship, that, as you said, with the adult responsibilities of life. We know that he just feels the way that he feels, and I get it. I love having sex too. Okay, but sometimes there are other things involved, especially when we're talking about health related matters. And I think that patience is a virtue. I think that her having his support instead of his resistance. Because I got to tell you, Carlos, I kind of had an issue with him being so resistant to her having a party to celebrate finishing chemotherapy. Him making an issue of it that she should not, and I don't know if it's going, I don't know if I want you to have, you don't need to be, what you need to be doing, Maurice, is supporting Kimberly and realizing that life is precious and we do need to celebrate these wins, no matter how big or small, especially when they're related to her cancer journey.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you be resistant or in opposition of that? You know that she needs to feel good about herself. So that's where I'm at with it. I think that Maurice needs to grow up a little bit and focus on being a supporter instead of a dictator.
And
I mean dick with a K. So yeah. I can't help it, man. It's fun over here, Carlos. You make people want to talk that kind of shit when they get over here, man.
I clearly see. This is sidebar. I love your friend from the podcast. Is horrible something?
Horrible decisions. Yes.
Yes.
Mandy
Horrible decisions. Yes. The blonde one.
Her name is Mandy. She goes by Full Court Pumps on the internet. Yes. Yes.
Full Court Pumps. I love you. I call her on the Social Proof podcast, but I also call her talking about you on her podcast because child, everybody loves Dustin. Men, women, they, animals. So this is turning into a horrible decision podcast. It's very explicit. So you think that Maurice is a dictator?
Absolutely.
He focuses on the D in order to rule the household.
Absolutely. I think that and what I love about it, he's honest about it. He's unabashed, right? Like he has absolutely led with that, as you mentioned previously when they were at the retreat with Dr. Francis, what's his name? Yeah, when they were with the Who Didn't Do Nothing as well, by the way. But anyway, I said another therapist who ain't doing nothing but making shit worse. The way he did Tiffany and them for having to leave. No wonder they saying the mother, he didn't do nothing when they was there because he didn't do nothing. Him and his wife. Because she had a lot to say too, right? All right. Anyway, I had an issue with them Francis. I meant to get in their ass last time I was here, but I didn't get a chance to, Carlos. Anyway, listen, Maurice has you laughing, Carlos.
I never heard anybody read Dr. Francis Shop on Martell.
It's been time. It's time, because they really, I just think they just kind of stirred up. I was like, this is why you have to, you get just like you get a second opinion at the medical doctor, you get a second opinion from your therapist too, because this is why. What did you do? You didn't help anything. And then they basically said, well, they're good. I'm glad they went. You know what I'm saying? When Tiffany and them left, I was just like, wow, Dr. Francis, okay. Maybe he got one of those Black China doctorates. What did she just get a couple weeks ago? I don't want to question his credentials because I'm sure I'm joking. I mean, that's obviously he's a Black
first
professional.
Of all, this is a joke. Dr. Francis
we're joking.
Is credible. He has he's a doctorate. We love
we're
Dr.
joking. Yes.
This is all jokes. People y'all think it's Dr. Francis. We love you.
We love you. We don't want no smoke,
being silly. Don't take
yes. But yeah, I do feel like Maurice led with that back at the retreat when they were with Dr. Francis. So we know that it's important to him. We know that it is a compass for him. He leads with that. You know what I mean? It gets out there and then he just follows where it goes to Kimberly. So I just want him to be a little bit more appreciative on camera. I'm sure that he's had conversations, in private or off camera with her where he has been appreciative of her concern. I would hope so. But I wish he would do it on camera so that we could see it, because the viewers are really empathizing and sympathizing, with Kimberly right now. We really wish the best for her on this cancer journey. And we love seeing her get these wins. I'm going to tell you, Carlos, when they were at the party that Melody planned for her at Top Golf, I think it was, or X Golf, I think it was in Huntsville. Yeah. It was like Top Golf. But when they were in there and Kimmy made that announcement and she said, as of right now, we are done, and she put her hands up and she said that they didn't see anything on the scans. That moment for me, I literally, my face was wet.
Yeah,
my face was wet. So that's where we are with it as viewers. We don't really give a damn about Maurice busting a nut. We don't care. We're concerned about Kimberly making it through this journey. And so God bless her for even, and she was so agreeable and just so just honest in that conversation in the car with him. You know, she wasn't telling him he was wrong for wanting to have sex. She was just letting him know what the truth was and the reality of her experience, which was so brave. And like I said, you know, for her to be so vulnerable and talk about how she didn't feel the prettiest because of what was going on with her hair loss from the chemotherapy, all that stuff just kind of usurps his libido to me, you know. So that's where I am with that whole situation.
Yes, no, listen,
Yeah.
and you're 1000% right. I mean, listen, you know me, Kimmy can do no wrong in my eyes. For a woman to still remain on the show, giving her personal story in a way that I've never seen on reality television.
Yeah.
I would give her all the props in the world for that. In addition to the fact that she is telling women in the world, right? After dealing with radiation and chemotherapy, it does lower your sex drive. I didn't know that. So as I'm watching the scene tonight, I'm also learning a lot about what happens after a woman goes through that process. And the fact that she's saying this on camera, knowing there's cameras in the car,
So
she's not
vulnerable.
shying away from talking about it. She then talks to her homegirl about it. It goes to show you that Kimmy understands the assignment
For sure.
of reality TV, because me and you said this last year about the fact that, look, if Kimmy ever said to me, Los, I'm chucking the deuces as I deal with this, I would say, by all means, I'm going to follow your lead. Yep. She stayed and continued to show her personal life, her vulnerability. I did not think I could love her more. Tonight has proven to me this woman does no wrong in my eyes. To go on camera telling the world that you don't feel sexual anymore due to this radiation chemotherapy and talking about it and addressing it is the reason why she is beautiful on the inside and the out, and why she is on this show. She's amazing to me. Amazing.
I love it. You know, instead of us even discussing, you know, whether or not he's satisfied sexually in their relationship, I would love to see more about Maurice juggling the hats of as a new attorney. You know, what's going on with his work and his business beyond them renovating the space. Like, show us how you're balancing that in addition to being the supportive husband that I'm sure he is. I know he is, you know what I mean? I just want to see that part of this journey a little bit more. We've seen him at doctor's appointments, we've seen him by her side, so we know that is the case. I just would like to see more of it, as opposed to his, you know, feelings about certain things that I just don't believe are the priority right now. You know, that's it. So I don't think Maurice is a bad guy at all.
No,
I just wish that we saw more of him as a support, you know, as the rib or whatever it is. I don't know the analogy that they make for married couples, but whatever it is, we just want to see that. We want to see more of that from him. That's all. Yeah.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So then later in the episode, Tiffany has a baby shower. It's a baby shower. She had a baby shower. It's co-ed. You see the girls at the table. Letitia and Kimmy and Stormy and Tiffany bring up the fact that Tiffany referred to Melody as Sheree's fan. Due to Sheree saying she did meet Tiffany. Due to Sheree saying she did meet Melody once at a signing. She actually took a picture, whatever. And Tiffany interpreted that as a fan. But you tell me what you think. I didn't think Sheree was calling Mel a fan. I thought Sheree was just saying, I met her here and she asked for a photo.
Yeah.
Tiffany said Sheree was pretty much inferring that Mel was a fan. And then the girls talked about it on the table. Did you think Sheree was trying to intimate that, or do you think Tiffany took that and ran with it with her own narrative?
Both of the things that you just said are true.
Ooh,
I do think that Sheree, because Sheree, again, we're talking about someone who is well vested in the experience of being a reality television cast member who knows that the wiggle room that you leave for interpretation with your word usage is really like a currency that you have as a cast member. So Sheree, by all means, knew what she was doing by saying, I met her once when she came to a book signing and asked for a picture. She knew what she was saying. Tiffany absolutely knew what she was doing by giving that by putting 10 on 20, and giving that a little bit more than it deserved. I also, Carlos, think that it's just low-hanging fruit. I think of all the things we could be discussing about Sheree and Melody and Martell, whether or not Sheree called Melody a fan or tried to say she was a fan. Hell, she should have been a fan at that point because Sheree was famous and Melody wasn't, so she could have been a fan. And what's wrong with being a fan? Fans are a good thing. If you're being a fan of someone is a great thing. You have a great experience. You enjoy whatever products or commodities this person presents to the world. You support this person whose work you like, create a lifestyle for them that advances them to more opportunity. I hate this connotation that people have given being a fan or fandom. They've given it a negative connotation. And me personally, I just don't like it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being a fan. And
I'm a fan of yours before.
I'm a huge fan of yours, Carlos. You know
so
that.
Just so the world knows, before me and Dustin became friends, I was a fan of his. Dustin had a YouTube channel way before Reality with the King even was around. And obviously acting in movies and everything. I was always a fan of his. And it's funny, and I will say this, every single person that I have had on Reality with the King, I have been a fan of. There's and will continue. So I do agree with you. I think we have to listen. One thing I don't like, and I agree with you, when a person becomes famous, they act like sometimes, and I'm talking in general before y'all create a headline.
Right. Because otherwise we would have put a name on it. We didn't do that.
I'm not talking about nobody specific.
Right.
But you raised a good point. What is wrong with being a fan? When we are just regular people, we are fans of people. When we become famous, why is it that we no longer can say, I was a fan or still am a fan? I think it's okay to say, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of a lot of people still. And that's why on this show, you've seen it, Dustin. I have guests on, and we fan out with each other. Like, no, bitch, I love you. No, I love you.
And it's real, and it's a real love fest, right? And so I think that's what we need to get back to. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's why we're doing all this shit in the first place. We're putting these things out for consumption, so somebody has to consume it. And I think that it's great to be a fan and to be able to carve out a section of time to devote to something that brings you joy. It's something that you love doing, whether it's a music or artist whose music you listen to, or a person who is a television personality and you watch their content. It's nothing wrong with that. So I took issue personally with that angle. I thought it was lazy and just low-hanging fruit, and I'm so glad Melody didn't take it. I'm so glad, which I'm not surprised, because she's pretty astute, and she's pretty keen when it comes to her filter of things that she allows to affect her 6 seasons in, versus maybe in the beginning. So I was glad that she didn't take the bait with that one. That one, I was kind of like, okay, Tiff, I love you, baby, but you tripping with this one. Like, we don't even need to push this any further. So, yeah.
Okay. Yes, agreed. So what we saw late in the episode tonight was the fact that the boys got together. You have Big Lou and the Three Stooges. No, I'm teasing. I love y'all. I called them M&Ms. So we got Martell, Maurice, and
Yes.
Right? So the 3 M's, I call them M&Ms, and we have Big Lou.
Yes.
Now, I would like for you to tell me, without even a question being asked, what was your thoughts in terms of that entire situation?
So I think the last time we talked about this, we spoke a little bit about how we liked Big Lou on this cast because we knew that we could get authentic reactions out of him, right? In the moment. He's personally affected by the things that he's speaking about. And that is gold when we're talking about performance on a reality television show, right? So I like the fact that this was something that he was passionate about. I think that he kind of felt obligated in a way to kind of check Martell and check Marsau, when he really wasn't angry about the situation itself. I think that he just knew that he had to address it for several reasons. Let's break the fourth wall here.
Let's
Number
do
one,
it.
he knows that he's on a reality show, and he knows that in order to again move the story along, he has to address what happened previously that he's been informed about, right? Beyond that, he is talking about his wife, and although these people are cool and friendly, he don't really know these like that. So them having, so him having that conversation, him having that conversation with them, you understand what I'm saying? About that, he felt like he had to. I was with him. You laughing, Carlos? I was with him until I felt like the pivots in his reaction were taking place too frequently and too sharply. Like he would laugh one minute, be getting physically aggressive, then pull back. It was just too up and down for me. Stay on message. Hey, I think it was up what you said to my wife. Don't do that anymore. Don't have those sort of conversations with my wife ever again. She's a woman and she's 9 damn months pregnant. You were wrong as hell, and we can talk about the details later. I'm going back in here to enjoy the shower, but I want you to know I don't like what you said to my wife.
Finger pointing and all, right?
Finger pointing at all. That's it. And as soon as Marsau opened his mouth, I'd have been like, I'm on there on my way to Tisha. Now you want me to go talk to her? You shut up too, because you don't have nothing to do with this. I'm not even finna discuss it with y'all on this porch. I'll talk to y'all about it later so we can have another scene. Hello, people. And then you go back, into the shower and keep it moving. Now you satisfied your requirement of addressing it. You didn't really leave the door open for them to kind of speak these futile points that they're going to try to make. And we've done what we need to do here. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I think Marsau was interjecting a little bit too much for my liking, but also I like that about Marsau on this show, that he does interdict too much about my liking. So it was typical Marsau fodder, but he didn't have anything to do with it. And he didn't really have a place in the conversation. Maurice definitely didn't have anything to do with it. And he came out there and made it worse. But, it was a great scene. And Big Lou did exactly what I knew he would do when we talked about him last year, which was, again, be a fit, formidable cast member on an ensemble reality show. He did his job. So I'm enjoying Tiffany and Lewis this year, and I'm enjoying their tenacity as cast members. They're really, really sinking their teeth into the fabric of this cast and the texture of this cast and really becoming a part of it. And I applaud that, because it's other people who are kind of just around and orbiting, as opposed to being the nucleus. So I like that Tiffany and Lewis did that. And I think it was a great scene. I think it was a great scene on all parts. I would have made different choices if I were people involved, but I wasn't the people involved. So it's not up to me. I enjoyed what I saw. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. So, and Dustin has no idea I'm about to ask him this question. But
Lord.
I want to ask it because I know he'll be honest with me.
I will.
And this will be good. So we have 6 more episodes to go for this first half of the season. We're filming the rest right now. Obviously, on Reality of the King, when I'm by myself, or even when I bring guests on, let me not say by myself. When I talk about other shows, I give my opinion on what I like, what I don't like, what I think is needed.
Okay.
I want to ask you this because you are day one Love and Marriage Huntsville fan.
Absolutely.
And the talk of the town has been, the Real Housewives of Atlanta and what isn't working, what is working. We're not here to talk about that today.
Right. Okay.
As you are day one Love and Marriage Huntsville fan, what is it that you would like to see that you think you're not getting enough of? And what do you think needs to happen for this show to continue to be great? If you had to give your opinion on the show, are you enjoying this season? Are you not? Do you want to see more of this, less of that? Give me Dustin Ross's critique of Love and Marriage Huntsville.
For sure. So yes, I am enjoying 6A. That's what we're watching right now, correct? I am enjoying season 6A of Love and Marriage Huntsville. As a day one viewer, my interest is in the original 6. Sorry. So I love all of the additions to the show who have been so so wonderful in their participation on the show. But I am most interested in the original six. That being said, I would like to see more scenes of them, of the six of them together. And I would absolutely like to see more scenes of Kimmy, Melody, and Letitia together. I think that we're seeing a lot of outside conversations that are kind of um, trying to continue to create this divide when Melody and Letitia, and especially Kimmy, have all been more than willing to engage with each other. It's everybody else introducing, well, this happened when we was at this person's house, and this happened when we were here and there and that. I like seeing them together. I was so excited when I watched the preview for next week's episode and I saw the meeting that's going to take place about the Black Expo idea. And it looks like the opinions and the commentary got a little fiery and passionate there. But when I saw how Letitia and Melody were still being honest about what they had to say, and this is just in the short teaser that we saw for next week, they were still being honest about what they had to say, but they were not being hateful toward one another. And Melody even was saying, like, oh, I get what you're saying. That's why I'm saying it till I get it here. What do we need to just watching them kind of hash that out, even if it does get a little ugly, knowing that they're working towards a reunion of the Big Six in some way. That is what we were introduced to in the beginning. That's what we love the most. And I think that keeping that tight as a unit, in addition to all these fun characters who we've been introduced to that we don't want to leave. We don't want Tiffany and Louis to leave. We don't want Kiki to leave because I've really grown to enjoy Kiki on this show. We don't want, I think you have it right now as far as the cast. And
do you like Stormy?
Yes, I do like Stormy's story. I think that it is an incredible thing that she's done with her Canvas Beauty brand. And her being a wealthy Black entrepreneur on television. I love it. What I don't like is her husband Courtney's perspective on them having another child. I felt like that was kind of a harsh scene that we saw that we haven't really found resolved with yet. I'm not sure what's coming up here. You would absolutely know, and I'm sure you're gonna bring us back to that conversation in some way.
Yes.
But like I would like to know more about why his story changed, because again, consistency, right, is key. And initially when they were having the conversation about them having another son or another child, which I love, their son's name Chess, I love that. But when they were having a conversation about having another baby, at first it was, well, your health was, such a concern during pregnancy. I don't know why you would even want to risk that again. And when she brought up surrogacy, he immediately switched to, well, I don't want our kids to compete with each other. Now, what kind of shit is that, Carlos? What kind of all the reasons for people to express that? And he's totally within his right as a father and a husband to not want additional children, right? There's nothing wrong with him not wanting any more kids, but be honest about why. You know what I mean? And it just started my mind racing in a direction that I wasn't really comfortable with, because the first thing I thought was, well, do you just not want children with her? Do you not want to be with her? And I started thinking about the fact that in the scenes where they're talking to each other, he always has a weird kind of like laugh or smile on his face that appears to make him not the most present in the conversation. My mind started racing in a direction that wasn't the most positive as it relates to their marriage. And I don't like that, because it only did that because of the way that he was responding to that subject. And I also didn't like her mother's logic when it came to the conversation about, well, you keep some of that pound cake from him, then maybe then he'll want it. Like, it wasn't positive. So I do like Stormy, but you know how I feel about people who come on the show. What I will say, you know what I will say about Stormy, and what has been different as it relates to her and others who we've seen introduced to the show as a friend of Melody, who found themselves in some sort of disagreement or conflict with her. Stormy has not expressed the willingness to like lean into I'm mad at you, Melody, that we've seen other people express before. I love the way that she has handled this as far as keeping it measured, being measured in her tone, and kind of actually, we got some actual dialogue as opposed to yelling and fighting, right? They talked about the break in their communication, and she's talking through her feelings as we see in these scenes. I just feel like Stormy is harboring some sort of resentment towards Melody, and I wish she would let it out so that we could see them actually be, because we haven't seen them really operate in friendship. We saw the minimal interaction when we were introduced to Stormy as a friend of Melody's, but we haven't seen her and Melody going to eat and shop. And I would like to see Stormy, honestly. Tiffany is playing the game fine where she's at. I would like to see Stormy get closer to Letitia, Kimmy, and Melody. I think Stormy has what it takes to be a main central cast member, and she needs to work on her personal relationships with the original 3 female leads on the cast. That's what I want to see from her. So it's not that I don't like Stormy. I just feel like it's light rain, instead of a real storm. I want Stormy's storm to be full. I want a tornado as opposed to drizzle. Okay, that's the best analogy.
What in the Al Roker weather report are you?
That's what I want. I don't want no light rain. Okay, we want a tornado, Stormy. Get in there and do what you can do, because we've seen it. She's got everything it takes. She's got the career. She's got the family. She's got the loose cannon mom. She's got everything. Like, we want to see her integrated more in that way, as opposed to her just in her confessional saying, I don't really know. We're going to see. I'm just going to see what happens. We want more than that. Stop shrugging your shoulders and get in the game, Stormy. That's what we need you to do. We need Stormy to get in the game.
Shrug.
Yeah, we need Stormy to get in that game. That's what we need. You see, Tiffany then got in the game. Big Lou got in the game. Okay, they are in this thing.
Tiffany is saying, "Bitch, I'm coaching this at this point."
This is what we want. So that, as opposed to, and her story, Tiffany's story is not driven by conflict with any of the original 6, really. Well, I shouldn't say 6 because she had a little conflict with the guys this week, but her story isn't driven by conflict with them. She is just hitting the gas a little bit with these stories, and I like that. I do too. So I'd like to see Stormy be involved in this. Yeah, like
Tiffany makes me scream.
Yes.
And because the thing is this, and I want y'all to know this, because a lot of people have said, child, Tiffany making sure she keeps her job. Look, I cast Tiffany because her casting tape, she said the most craziest things. And I'm going to see if I can show that at the reunion, because I want y'all to see it. Tiffany was messy on her casting tape. Tiffany is messy. And I like the fact that she owns it, but she's not messy to where she's trying to destroy you, destroy your business. Like, she's not dark messy.
Right.
It's light. Right. It's fun. It's silly. And y'all take her too seriously. It's fun. But I agree with you. I love watching her.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy her. Enjoy her. I enjoy Tiffany. And pregnant. Again, these women are really, listen, these women against all odds are performing and showing up and clocking the fuck into work, okay, on this show. Tiffany's 9 months pregnant. Melody is going through the throes of emotional devastation, okay? Meanwhile, continuing her professional empire and raising the hell out of her beautiful, well-adjusted children, okay?
Yeah.
Don't miss that. Kimmy, we're not even going to get any more specific. Her healthcare journey that she's going through. Letitia's figuring a lot of things out right in front of us when it comes to her own self-image, her self-worth, her confidence. We're seeing these women really give their all on this cast. And so that's why I would like to see a little bit more from Stormy when it comes to her actual real connection, because it's not enough for you to tell us, well, we worked together on a post deal to, for her to post something about Canvas Beauty online, and then we didn't talk no more. Well, grow the relationship. Whatever happened to us? Why are we focusing on what broke the relationship down? Grow the relationship. Show us that. Show us you getting with Melody, going out, doing things, building a relationship, building a friendship. That's what we believe in. That's what we attach ourselves to as viewers. The drama and conflict are cool because those are the rarities of life. But typically we see people having a good time. That's what we want to see with you guys. Show us you building an actual real friendship, so that when we see pictures of y'all offline hanging out, when we see pictures of y'all together filming scenes, we understand it, we look forward to it, and we want more of it. That's what we want to see. So again, I love this show because we have such a dynamic cast of Black entrepreneurs, Black wealth, Black love, Black families, both blended and both long-term marriages. We see newly single people. This is just a very accurate representation of the many, many walks of life for Black people of a certain age and a certain station in life. And that's what makes this show good. So if we kind of just lean into that and let the disagreements come as they may, I think that we'll stay locked into what has us all locked into the show in the first damn place, because I love Love and Marriage Huntsville. I love Love and Marriage DC. I can't wait for Love and Marriage Detroit. I can't wait for that. I've already been through everybody's Instagram. I have so many questions. I love these beautiful what was it? Britton and Bailey. Those were the two little girls. All of that. You're gonna love it. All that. So that's what draws us to these shows. That's the point of interest that the audience has. And again, so I take my hat off to people like Kimberly, people like Tiffany, people for sure like Melody, people for sure like Letitia, even Kiki. Kiki's been very honest about some things in her past. I do feel like there's a part of Kiki that uses her struggle with what she struggled with as, I don't want that to be a pillar of personality for her. I want that to just be something that happened, and now let's move past it. I don't want to talk about them pills no more. Okay. I don't want to have another conversation about Kiki and those pills, but I do applaud the cast members for giving their all.
Listen, this has always been something amazing that we do together. Let the world know that where they can find you, follow you, and you have a very special announcement to make because you're doing something new in the podcast space. So let the world know, Dustin Ross, what you got going on.
So I believe you're talking about the tweet I made today.
Was it real?
What are you referring to, Carla?
Yeah,
it was real.
Yes, I loved it. I didn't want to retweet it. I wanted to save it for this. Go ahead.
God bless you, bro. So first of all, much love to the audience, your audience, the Raindrops. Carlos, they've shown me so much love since I came on for the reunion last year. So I really love this audience. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me on again. I love talking about this show. I love watching it, and I love talking about it. So thank you. You can find me every Wednesday on the Friend Zone podcast, which launches everywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams. Every Wednesday we launch there too. You can also join our Patreon for the Friend Zone podcast, which is patreon.com/the Friend Zone podcast, where we have original programming and content 5 days a week. What Carlos was just referring to, everybody knows that I tell jokes for a living. So over on the Friend Zone Patreon account, I thought it would be really funny to audibly describe what I see when I visit some of the most popular OnlyFans pages on the internet. So I have a new show that's going to launch on our Patreon account, where I'm going to, in my most descriptive way, I'm going to let you know what I see when I watch some of the content amongst the most popular OnlyFans pages out there. I think we're going to have a really good time using descriptive words, like the dark part or the just things like that. I can't wait. So join our Patreon. It is patreon.com/the Friend Zone podcast, and you can look out for that in addition to a lot of other bonus content that you'll love. And you can also check out the Revolt app and the Revolt YouTube channel, and you can watch Bet on Black, the show that I host on Revolt. We wrapped season 2, and it's available now to stream. So check me out there. And I love you guys. I love y'all Raindrops, and I'm happy to be here. I need me a raindrop jacket. We need some jackets, Carlos.
Well, listen. Okay. I got to break news too. Raindrop merch is coming soon.
We be right here, Carlos. See? Yeah.
Raindrop merch is coming soon. I just saw the materials and stuff, and it's gonna be, so you'll get your Raindrop merch, your allegedly merch, and a lot of great stuff. Now, I need to ask you this before you go.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do an OnlyFans, Dustin Ross?
No, I'm not. We just talked about knowing the value of your contribution to things, right? And I feel like you only got one time to see it, so I want it to be worth it when I show it. So I won't be doing the OnlyFans, but I'm damn sure about to talk about the ones that y'all doing. So if you guys want to hear these comedic reviews and the comedic commentary associated with these reviews, holla at me, patreon.com/friendzone podcast, and you'll see the new show, the OnlyFans review show. I'm so excited to make you guys laugh. And I think it'll be a good time. So, Carlos, you the man. Thank you for letting me plug that, brother. Thank you,
Of
man.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, without saying, no, we love you. Y'all support
You know
Dustin.
what, Carlos?
Yes.
One last thing before I'm out of here, because you know I love them bells. I want to come back and talk about the bells. We got to talk about the bells because I got some stuff to say about the bells are ringing. Do you hear me? They say what is Shanae? They say shang a lang a lang.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's what these bells are doing. So we're gonna have to rap about that again soon, Carlos. Yes,
baby. The bells are ringing every Friday, 8:00, 7 Central. Oh, and listen, just like this one, I'm interviewing all the girls, but you're coming back so we can recap Bell Collective and talk about what's been happening this season. No, I definitely got you for that one.
Yes. That's what's up. Thank you for having me, Carlos. I love being here with you, brother.
Anytime. Love you, Dustin. I'll see you soon, bro.
Love you. All right, bro.